General Hospital spoilers reveal that Rory Gibson has made quite a splash since his debut as a Michael Corinthos recast. Gibson had some big shoes to fill following Chad Duell's departure, but he's doing a wonderful job and earning plenty of fan support. Now that Gibson is settling into the role nicely, viewers are growing even more curious about what's ahead for his character. Michael has been dealing with plenty of drama thanks to the custody feud, especially since the paternity of Sasha Corbin's baby came out in court. In an interview with SOD, Gibson opened up about Michael's thoughts on this whole mess and where things could go from here. Part of Michael has been focused on trying to get his kids into a safer situation, but another part of him is fueled by a little bit of rage over Willow's actions. Since Drew is Michael's uncle and someone he previously trusted, Gibson suggested the double betrayal contributed to all the pain and fury. It's been tough for Gibson to play both the heartache and the anger, but he's been pulling it off beautifully. In addition to recast Michael's new look, we're seeing more layers to the character overall thanks to all the challenges he's dealt with and continues to deal with now. He's gone through so much, and I'm almost looking at the explosion as a rebirth type of situation, Gibson said. As for the moment when the paternity of Michael and Sasha's baby was exposed, Gibson addressed his character's mixed feelings. The timing was terrible since Michael was fighting for custody of Wiley Corinthos and Amelia Corinthos, but it was also a relief for the truth to finally be out in the open. Gibson pointed out that if it were up to Michael, the secret would have come out before now so that he could have been supporting Sasha throughout the pregnancy. Honestly, he'd probably be with Sasha, and he'd be wanting to raise this baby with her, Gibson added. That seems like a huge clue about where Michael and Sasha's storyline will ultimately go from here. Gibson acknowledged that Michael isn't ashamed of the baby's existence, though he knows Willow must feel like he's a hypocrite, since he came after her so hard while hiding his own betrayal. Nevertheless, the exposure of the paternity news means that Michael's free to support Sasha openly. Following Sasha's early labor and all the courtroom drama, Michael could rebuild his relationship with her if they can both get on the same page. General Hospital spoilers say Michael's new chapter will continue to bring some interesting shakeups, so stay tuned for updates on what's in store. General Hospital fans have been glued to their screens as the drama surrounding Michael Corinthos continues to unfold, and now Rory Gibson, who portrays Michael, is opening up in a way that adds even more fire to the already boiling speculation. With a new chapter clearly on the horizon for Michael, fans are left wondering what his future holds, not just in terms of family loyalty and business feuds, but also when it comes to love. Rory Gibson's words tease a rebirth for Michael, a chance at starting over, perhaps redefining everything we thought we knew about him. And the implications? They're big. They're messy. They could change everything. Michael Corinthos has never exactly had it easy. As a legacy character born into the complexities of mob life, and raised under the shadow of powerful men like Sonny Corinthos, his path was never going to be simple. Over the years we've seen him navigate heartbreaking loss, betrayals, romantic entanglements, and more than a few moments where he nearly gave in to the darker parts of his nature. But lately there's been a shift, a tension in the air, a building pressure around Michael's storyline that suggests he's standing on the edge of a transformation that could either liberate him or destroy him completely. And Rory Gibson, with a knowing smile, isn't denying it. In fact, he's fueling it. In recent interviews, Gibson hinted that fans haven't seen the real Michael in a long time. Maybe ever. That what's been bubbling underneath for years is finally ready to erupt. The show, after all, has been slowly guiding Michael toward this pivotal point. He's had to wrestle with his loyalty to Sonny, his adoptive father, and the trauma of everything that happened with Willow's illness, the secrets surrounding Nina, and the fallout from keeping things hidden about Dex and the mob. And let's not forget the brutal emotional weight of the Wiley storyline, and all the complicated feelings tied to Nellie. Through it all, Michael's public image has been the clean-cut, controlled, dependable man. But Gibson teases that this image, it might be more fragile than we think. When Gibson talks about Michael's rebirth, it's not just a buzzword. He hints at a total overhaul, a deeper, more intense version of Michael that's about to emerge. Someone who's willing to embrace the full spectrum of who he is, including the Corinthos fire that he's long tried to suppress. Fans who remember Michael's brief flirtations with power and control in the past may finally see him take the reins with no apologies this time. But here's the twist. Gibson also emphasizes that Michael doesn't want to become a carbon copy of Sunny. He wants to forge a new path. The question is, can he do that without losing himself, or the people he loves most? And speaking of love, the romantic future Gibson teases is equally compelling. While Michael and Willow have been through a lot and remain a steady couple on the surface, there's a growing sense of restlessness in their story. Willow's near-death experience brought them closer. Yes, but it also cracked them open. It forced them to confront the fragility of life, the lies they told each other, and the way outside forces like Nina and Sunny continue to shape their dynamic. Gibson doesn't confirm any breakups, but he does suggest that Michael is entering a phase where he'll start asking deeper questions about what and who he really wants. It might not be the answer fans expect. Could this mean a new love interest for Michael? Or the return of an old flame? Fans are already buzzing about possible pairings that could shake things up. There's even speculation about someone unexpected, perhaps someone tied to the mob world, or even someone with connections to the Q family legacy that Michael has only just begun to embrace. Either way, Gibson says Michael will find himself in situations that challenge his heart in ways he hasn't experienced before. And that means we're in for some major emotional fireworks. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of excitement about where Michael's story is going. Gibson seems genuinely invested in peeling back the layers of his character and giving fans something raw, something real. He talks about how rewarding it is to play a man who's constantly at war with himself, who wants to be good, but can't ignore the pull of his family's darker impulses, who wants to protect his loved ones, but sometimes ends up hurting them in the process. This duality is what makes Michael such a compelling figure, and Gibson seems ready to push him to the limit. What's especially interesting is how Michael's evolution might affect the larger canvas of General Hospital. If Michael steps into a more aggressive, commanding role, perhaps even filling a power vacuum left by Sunny, how will others react? Will Carly support him or try to rein him in? What about Jason, who's back and already navigating a delicate balance with Sunny and his own secrets? Will Michael's rebirth create new alliances or tear existing ones apart? Gibson implies that Michael is going to surprise everyone, including himself, and that his transformation won't be without casualties. There's also the matter of legacy. Michael has long been torn between his Corinthos blood and his Courtemay name. For years, he leaned heavily into his Corinthos identity, but now with the tide shifting and old feuds reigniting, the idea of Michael reclaiming his Courtemay roots feels more relevant than ever. Gibson teases that Michael may finally realize the strength he has by embracing both sides of his family tree. Not just the brute force and charisma of Sunny, but the cunning, resilience, and strategic genius of the Courtemays. A fusion of both worlds could make Michael a formidable force in Port Charles, possibly even someone who redefines what it means to be a Corinthos. Another intriguing thread in Michael's future involves his relationship with his son Wiley. As Michael changes, how will he parent? Will he try to shield Wiley from the same forces that shaped him? Or will he become so consumed with his own transformation that he risks repeating the same mistakes Sunny made with him? Gibson hints at some emotional moments coming up involving fatherhood and legacy, and fans should prepare themselves for scenes that could leave a lasting mark on Michael as a character. And then there's Willow. Sweet, devoted Willow, who stood by Michael through life-threatening illness and family chaos. But even the strongest couples have their limits. Gibson doesn't throw Willow under the bus. In fact, he praises Caitlin McMullen's portrayal and the emotional depth she brings to their scenes. But he suggests that as Michael grows, he may begin to realize that his needs, and maybe even his desires, are changing. That kind of honesty is dangerous. It can build something new, or burn everything down. For now, all we can do is watch and wait. Rory Gibson's words have ignited a firestorm of fan theories, and General Hospital seems poised to take full advantage of the momentum. Whether it's through unexpected betrayals, shocking romantic twists, or a bold power grab, one thing is clear. Michael Corinthos is entering a new era. An era where nothing is safe, nothing is off-limits, and no one, including Michael himself, knows exactly what he's capable of. As the story unfolds, fans will be treated to a journey that's as emotional as it is explosive. Michael's rebirth isn't just about taking on a new identity. It's about confronting the ghosts of his past, embracing the full scope of his family's legacy, and deciding once and for all who he wants to be. Rory Gibson's portrayal is poised to go deeper than ever before. And if the hints are true, we're about to see Michael Corinthos in a light we never imagined. One that might just change Port Charles forever. More than 2 years after General Hospital killed off Dr. Britt Westbourne, portrayer Kelly Thibault is returning to Port Charles in July, our sister site Deadline reports. "It's good to be home," the actress told the website. What she didn't say, however, was whether she would be reprising her role of Britt, which she played off and on from 2012 to 2023. Executive producer Frank Valentini didn't clarify the matter either. "I am thrilled to have Kelly back on our show," he said. "We have some great twists and turns planned for her character." Yeah, but what character? If Britt is being resurrected after dying at the hand, well, the hook of Heather Weber, she would hardly be the first character to make a round trip to the hereafter. But General Hospital has a habit of rehiring actors for new parts. Consider. Michael Easton played One Life to Live's John McBain on General Hospital, then Dr. Silas Clay, then Dr. Hamilton Finn. Roger Howarth played One Life to Live's Todd Manning on General Hospital, then Franco Baldwin, then Austin Gatlin Holt. Tamara Braun played Carly Spencer, then Dr. Kim Nero. Sarah Joy Brown played Carly too, then Claudia Zachra. No one ever really stays gone in Port Charles, not for long. And when it comes to Britt Westbourne, affectionately and infamously dubbed the Britch, her return is anything but ordinary. The moment news leaked that Kelly Thibault might be stepping back into the chaos of General Hospital, fans everywhere lit up like wildfire, buzzing with speculation, excitement, and theories that stretched as wildly as the show's dramatic storylines themselves. What could possibly bring Britt back now after everything? Is she alive? Is this a twin twist? A flashback arc? A hallucination? Or, in true soap opera fashion, is she the key to unraveling a plot that's been quietly simmering beneath the surface, just waiting for the right time to explode? From the second Kelly Thibault walked off screen, there was an emptiness left behind. Not just for the characters who knew and loved her, but for the viewers who had grown to love. Britt's sass, intelligence, vulnerability, and unapologetic edge. She was the kind of character who didn't just stir the pot, she broke the spoon. And now, with whispers of her return echoing through soap circles and social media, it's clear that her story was far from over. The possibility of Britt's return isn't just a plot point. It's a jolt of electricity into a show already brimming with secrets, betrayals, and relationships on the brink. Picture it. Port Charles moving along as always, characters entangled in messy feuds and complicated alliances, when suddenly a familiar figure emerges from the shadows, bruised, changed, maybe even broken, but unmistakably Britt. The reactions would be explosive. Lies exposed, truths appended, and relationships tested beyond recognition. Because when Britt Westbourne returns, she brings more than just memories. She brings consequences. Let's rewind. Britt's last arc was as emotional as it was gut-wrenching. Her Huntington's disease diagnosis, her emotional farewell with her mother Liesl, her deepening bond with characters like Austin, her moments of redemption, and of course, her heartbreaking exit. Fans were left shattered, and yet somehow they couldn't fully believe it was the end. In a universe where cryogenic chambers, identity swaps, and presumed deaths are more common than coffee at Kelly's, Britt's death felt too final for a character so vital, so chaotic, so full of potential. And now? Now the question isn't just how she returns, it's why. Maybe she faked her death. A twist orchestrated with Liesl's help, meant to spare her loved ones the pain of watching her deteriorate. Or maybe she never actually died at all, perhaps an anonymous rescue, a secret experimental treatment overseas, or even a case of mistaken identity. And what if the woman returning isn't Britt at all? What if she's someone claiming to be Britt? A twin, a clone, or an imposter planted to wreak havoc from the inside out? The how is juicy, but the why is where it gets even more delicious. Why now? What has changed? What danger is brewing that only Britt could know about? Could she be running from something even darker than her diagnosis? A criminal syndicate, a personal vendetta, a deal gone wrong? Could she have uncovered something about Victor Cassadine's legacy that ties her to Helena's twisted plans? Perhaps she's returning not just for closure, but for revenge. Then there's the question of who she'll affect. Imagine her showing up at the hospital, where her presence alone sends shockwaves through the staff. Think about her reunion with Liesl, emotional, fiery, complicated. Or the tension she'll reignite with people like Elizabeth, Carly, and of course the ever-unpredictable Nina. What happens when Britt steps back into the lives of those who had moved on, or thought they had? And let's not forget love. Britt's love life was as wild as her personality. Tumultuous, passionate, tragic. Her chemistry with Jason was undeniable. Her history with Nicholas unforgettable. And her dalliances with others? Always entertaining. Could a new romance be on the horizon for her? Or will an old flame reignite the kind of fire that Port Charles hasn't seen in years? This isn't just a character returning to a show. It's a bomb being dropped in the middle of an already volatile town. Her knowledge, her secrets, her connections, all of it matters. Because Britt doesn't operate on the sidelines. She walks into rooms and changes the atmosphere. She brings tension. She brings heart. And most importantly, she brings unpredictability. Fans are already speculating wildly. Some believe she's back to help expose a dark secret at GH. Perhaps involving medical corruption, a rogue doctor, or a cover-up that could shake the institution to its core. Others think she's back to uncover more about her family. Maybe a revelation about her paternity, or even an unknown sibling. And then there are those who believe her return is tied to a grander, more twisted plot that spans multiple families, the Cassidines, the Westbournes, even the Corinthos clan. Could she have crossed paths with someone like Sunny in her time away? Could she now hold information that puts her squarely in the center of a war she didn't even start? Whatever the case, there's no way Britt comes back quietly. There will be drama. There will be tears. There will be betrayal. And there will be redemption, or at least the chance of it. Because as flawed as Britt is, as broken and scarred as her past has made her, she's always been more than her mistakes. She's a survivor. She's complex. And most of all, she's real. Even those who once hated her couldn't deny her depth. She grew. She learned. She softened. And for many viewers, watching that transformation felt like watching a friend grow up. Messily, imperfectly, but beautifully. To see her return is to see a second chance. For her. For the people around her. And for the stories that still haven't been told. What will the fallout be? Who will she confront first? What secrets will she spill? And what new ones will she bring? Will her return be met with open arms or locked doors? Will she be hailed as a survivor, or branded as a liar? And as the dust settles around her return, what version of Britt will we get? The guarded Britt who keeps everyone at arm's length? The vulnerable woman searching for belonging? Or something altogether new? A version shaped by survival, secrecy, and loss? Only one thing is certain. When Britt Westbourne returns to General Hospital, Port Charles will never be the same. Every conversation, every side glance, every tense reunion will hold weight. Her presence will demand attention. Her history will complicate everything. And viewers old and new will be glued to their screens, wondering what twist comes next. Because this isn't just a comeback. It's a revival of everything we loved about General Hospital's most unforgettable eras. The unpredictability, the emotion, the edge. With Kelly Thibault back in the fold, the writers have a golden opportunity to bring nuance, thrill, and heartache back to center stage. And if they play it right, this could be the comeback storyline of the decade. In a world where death is rarely permanent, and drama is always personal, Britt's reappearance is more than fan service. It's a promise that no story is ever truly finished, that no character is ever truly gone, and that sometimes the ones we thought we lost are the very ones who end up saving us all. During the week of June 9th to 13th, General Hospital spoilers state that Jocelyn Jacks will be dealing with a problem, while Nina Reeves will be concerned about the possibility of losing Willow Corinthos forever. Therefore, let's talk about what's going to happen on General Hospital on ABC. Carly Spencer will also get romantic. As a first step, Carly will have to figure out who the real father of Sasha Corbin's child is in light of the recent commotion that has occurred in the courtroom. Carly will be left with conflicting emotions as a result of this, and Jason Morgan will be put in the hot seat. Part of Carly will appreciate what Jason tried to accomplish with the false baby daddy act, but another part of her should be outraged about him hiding secrets from her. Of course, the goal will be ensuring Sasha and the baby are okay after she goes into delivery. As a result of the sad death of her first child, Liam Corbin, Sasha will be filled with terror of the worst possible outcomes. There is a good probability that Sasha's second kid will survive and ultimately thrive, despite the fact that she will be concerned about the possibility of another early labor producing a disastrous outcome. It is possible that once Sasha and Michael Corinthos go through all of this together, Sasha will become more receptive to the idea of raising the child as co-parents or even as a couple. For now, Michael and Sasha will connect over their similar baby concerns. And they may wind up owing Willow their thanks for helping them amid all the labor turmoil. As for Nina, she will experience a state of terror after Carly reveals that she is the person responsible for Drew's drugging scheme. There will be a confrontation between Carly, Nina, Drew and Rick that leads to Carly ratting Nina out. It is possible that the mother-daughter connection that Nina has been working so hard to cultivate would be destroyed if Willow receives updates on that news and believes Carly. As things begin to spin out of control, Nina will continue to worry about the possibility of losing Willow for good. Drew will also have a dilemma on his hands now that he's framed Tracy Quartermaine for what Nina did with Portia Robinson and Jacinda's help. Curtis Ashford will expect to use that frame up against Drew. And he'll want to find Jacinda as part of his strategy to neutralize Drew too. Back with Carly, she'll make time for her romance with Jack Brennan someday. Brennan has a wonderful present headed his way, so Carly will try to show him just how much he means to her. Meanwhile, Marco Rios will confide in Lucas Jones, so he may hint about things getting problematic at work. Although Marco doesn't know much, he might leak enough to make Lucas concerned that Alexis Davis is in crisis mode. Work problems could become an issue for Jocelyn and Vaughn, as well, since they'll strengthen their connection through their WSB employment. Vaughn and Jocelyn have a hard issue coming up, one that'll lead to a close moment between them. Despite Vaughn's vow to Brennan about dealing Anna Devane alone, Jocelyn may get tied up in his intentions. Once Anna and Jason Morgan band up to investigate Professor Henry Hank Dalton, Jocelyn may take action and risk secret agent exposure if she's not careful. General Hospital spoilers suggest the week of June 9th to 13th will offer some excitement, so don't miss all the mayhem that's ahead. Nina had always thought that time could heal anything, that if she simply waited long enough, if she showed enough kindness and regret, she could somehow piece together a bond with her kid. But reality was beginning to indicate otherwise. The harder Nina attempted to get close to Willow, the more strained everything became. Their interactions, once filled with cautious hope, had started to feel mechanical. Polite smiles, quick discussions, and uncomfortable silences that spoke more than words ever could. Nina was losing her daughter, and this time it felt final. Willow had given Nina a chance, maybe not out of trust, but certainly out of a wish for peace. After everything she'd been through with her illness, and the mayhem that had followed the SEC scandal, she didn't have the stamina for further emotional battle zones. She convinced herself she could let Nina in slowly, that forming a connection might be doable with enough care and time. But Nina, determined to prove herself, never completely comprehended the vulnerability of that opportunity. Her need to be involved, to intrude herself into every peaceful moment of Willow's existence, started to seem oppressive. And then there was the truth, hanging heavy in the air between them. Willow may have wanted a mother, but not at the cost of her sanity, or her family's tranquility. Nina's history with Carly, her betrayal of Drew and the SEC secret, and her relentless maneuvering were flaws in the foundation that could never truly be sealed. Willow noticed everything. Every time Nina tried to smooth things over with false affection or deliberate kindness, Willow would pull back just a little more. It wasn't out of cruelty. It was self-preservation. Nina could feel it. Every unanswered text. Every rescheduled coffee date. Every time Willow opted to go through something without calling her. Nina's terror grew more vivid with each passing day. She began to overcompensate, dropping by unannounced, offering aid where it wasn't wanted, pushing herself into regions Willow hadn't invited her into. She persuaded herself she was just being involved, being present. But everyone else noticed the desperation, especially Carly. Carly had been mainly silent during the early phases of Willow and Nina's attempted reconciliation. She didn't want to intervene. She had promised Willow that she wouldn't be the wedge between them, no matter how much history there was, no matter how deep the treachery ran. But silence didn't indicate apathy. Carly saw everything. How Nina hovered, how Willow recoiled, how the relationship altered from healing to pressure. And as Willow began to recede, it was Carly who gently moved back into the role she had occupied for so long. Protector, confidant, maternal figure. The bond between Carly and Willow was not born from obligation. It was won through shared hardship, mutual respect, and unshakable loyalty. Carly had been there when Willow was at her weakest, when she felt she might not survive. She stood by her, never asking for anything in return. And now, as Willow started to lock the door on Nina, she found herself reflexively going to the one woman who had never pushed too hard or expected too much. Nina noticed. The more time Willow spent with Carly, the more clearly shaken Nina grew. She confronted Willow one afternoon, voice shaking, barely covering her displeasure. She inquired why Willow was shutting her out again. She appealed for honesty. And Willow, who had tried so hard to spare Nina's feelings, eventually told her the truth. It wasn't simply about the past. It was about the present. It was about trust, and Nina hadn't earned it. Not truly. Nina left the conversation feeling like something inside her had fractured beyond repair. For the first time, she saw the reality for what it was. She wasn't creating a relationship with Willow. She was chasing a fantasy. And in doing so, she had lost the very thing she desired most, the chance to matter in her daughter's life. As Nina sank emotionally, Carly's world was moving in a new direction. The tumult of the SEC scandal was behind her, and though her relationship with Drew had quietly disintegrated under the weight of too many hidden resentments, Carly was finding a kind of serenity. She was focusing on herself again, her family, her friendships, her own healing. And somewhere in the heart of that calm, something unexpected was sprouting. Romance was not something Carly had been pursuing. Not after the grief, not after everything that had unraveled with Sunny, then Drew. But fate rarely sought permission. Someone new, or perhaps familiar, had entered into her orbit with an unexpected flair. It wasn't a huge pronouncement or a sweeping gesture. It was slow, subtle, and comfortable. It came in the shape of shared laughter, of long discussions that didn't feel heavy, of glances that stayed just a moment longer than they should. Carly was hesitant at first. She questioned every feeling, every flirtation. She had learnt not to trust readily, not to throw her heart away without caution. But even she couldn't deny the warmth returning to her life. For the first time in a long time, she was being viewed not as a mother or a businesswoman, or the woman who weathered crisis after scandal, but just as Carly. A woman who still had the potential to feel, to dream, to fall in love again. Those close to her started to notice the difference. There was a lightness about her that hadn't been there in months. A tenderness in her voice when she spoke about her day. Even Sunny, who was absorbed with his own difficulties, took note. In this moment, two ladies stood in very different positions. One discovering love again, quietly, tentatively. The other discovering what it truly means to lose something she never really had. And somewhere in between, the rest of the community watched, wondered, and prepared for the next twist in a story that never truly ends. General Hospital spoilers from Monday, June 9th to Friday, June 13th. Lucky bids his farewell prior to departing Port Charles once again. Carly, Sunny, and Jason are astonished by Michael's announcement, and Tracy throws forth a challenge to Alexis. Moreover, Nina is out for blood as shockwaves tear through the courtroom at the custody hearing. Read on for that and more drama ahead.